This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
I didn't know how much time I had. You know, that intro gives me enough time to close the window in the studio, turn on the on-air Studio A light, and get back behind the mic. That's great. Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. Broadcasting 2 hours a day from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Studio A. Information's on the website. And there's a link to all of your instructors at USAPrepares.com. Podcasts are free. Just go to USAPrepares.com. Click on Listen to Vincent, GCN, and you'll be able to get to the podcast for free. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli, and Nathan. Nathan is producing the worldwide broadcast from Minnesota. Meet up tonight. Ziggy's, 5:30, Sunshine and Glenstone, Springfield, Missouri. Movie night. We're going to learn about the music industry. What happened to Michael Jackson? How did he end up owning half of Sony? And why? Why was he murdered? And why? Why is it that the music performers are getting more away from the actual music and more into gyrations and obscene movements in public? Like Miley Cyrus. Have you seen her without her tongue sticking out? She's a disgrace. Gosh, how'd that happen? We're going to learn why, and we'll tell you about it during the course of the week after we discuss it at the meetup. Now, that's tonight, 5:30, Ziggy's. Next Monday, Joyce Riley is going to be doing a teleseminar with us at the meetup. Joyce Riley is a Missouri resident, and she's going to be phoning in from her farm, and she's going to be teaching us at the 7th, on the 7th. Then the following Monday, Dr. Judy Wood is going to be at the meetup. She's going to drive in and spend the evening with us. She's going to do a book signing and autographs, and she wrote a really, really interesting book, and I've got a copy right here. It's Where Did the Towers Go? This book is an encyclopedia. It's like a college textbook. It is heavy. About 500 pages. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So she's going to be on with us tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about it. Frank Underhill's with us, and we're going to be talking about economics, survival economics. Welcome, Frank Underhill.
Good morning, Vincent. Glad to be here with you this morning.
Frank, it's always great to spend Monday mornings with you. And, before we started the broadcast, you had asked me about the that legislative meeting I went to last Thursday. You want to hear how that went?
I do, and I'm sure your listeners would like to hear as well.
Man, oh man. Well, it's called the Locke and Smith Legislative Organization. And it's the Locke and Smith Foundation. And there are a bunch of volunteers who get together to review legislation proposed in Missouri, and they rank it based on just the constitutionality of it. And they rank those members of the Missouri legislature based upon how well they follow the Constitution. And what has happened is a lot of these guys who we elect and gals want to know, okay, how do I win this prestigious award? The Locke and Smith Award, the annual award and they want to know the secret. And the founders of the Lock and Smith Foundation, friends of ours, Tom Martz, Ken Hurley, you've heard them both on this broadcast, simply say it's real easy. All you have to do is follow the Constitution, and you'll win. And what happens is these guys just don't seem to be able to do that. So last Thursday there was a meeting at a restaurant, and I was there, and I was able to give a 3-minute presentation. It might have been maybe 3 minutes and 15 seconds. But I said my piece, and I got off from the center of the speaking area. I'll tell you what I said, exactly what I said. So here we go. All right. Did I lose something? Did something happen? Nathan, are we okay?
I'm here.
Okay. I just heard this strange sound. Okay. Thanks, Nathan. Here's what I said. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a registered voting member of one of the 2 largest crime syndicates in the United States. I'm a committee man, and my wife is a committee woman for the syndicate. Which syndicate doesn't matter. Both syndicates allow you, your wives, your husbands, your parents, and your children to be poisoned with the same chemical that the Nazis used in the concentration camps of World War II. Fluoride is a poison, rat poison. It's in the water, and it costs you $200,000 a year to kill yourselves. Slowly. It makes you docile. Michelle wants you to drink more. It lowers your IQ. And that's when I raised my glass of water and I said, cheers. Are people docile, lazy, sick, and fat? Those are the results of fluoride. There's your proof. Chemical weapons are outlawed by the Geneva Convention for use in war. Fluoride is banned in Europe. We're being poisoned legally right here, right now, tonight. Tomorrow, it's your children who get poisoned in school during breakfast and lunch. You have not stopped it. The police arm of the syndicate has employees who are bashing down doors of our homes, tasing us with electrical torture machines, and bludgeoning us with tools of war. Both syndicates allow the use of microwave radar guns in police cars that have the same technology that you use to boil water in your microwave oven. But you wouldn't pour that same boiled water on your child's head, would you? Both syndicates do nothing to stop the government crimes because they are the government. Then after I said that, I described the 3 bills that I would like introduced. And here's bill number 1. No Missouri government employee shall have prosecutorial nor judicial immunity. All Missouri state, county, city, and local government employees shall be held individually responsible for his or her actions, including but not limited to murdering anyone with tasers, guns, chemicals, electronics, and other tools that they select for their use. That's a 1-sentence bill. The second bill that I introduced, bill number 2, is another 1-sentence bill. Actually, all 3 of these bills that I wanted introduced are 1 sentence each. The second bill is called the Elected Representatives Integrity Bill. All Missouri elected representatives shall read every word and understand every word of every bill that he or she votes on or is subject to being charged with a Class A felony. Now, for your information, class, a Class A felony carries a prison sentence of not less than 10 years. Okay, the third bill that I introduced is another 1-sentence bill. It's called the Missouri Government Weapons Restriction. No Missouri government agency, department, government body, nor government person shall have the use of nor access to any weapon not available to we the people. That's what I said last Thursday. Now, Frank, what kind of a reaction would you think I'd get from saying those things?
I think you would get a round of applause.
Frank, I'd like to say you were right.
A standing ovation, and
I'd like
that you've laid out is unobtainable. It's reasonable.
Well, Frank, I'd like to say you were right, but I can't. Actually, I got no reaction. None. Nothing. Not a word. Nothing. It was like, who's up next? And I was the only person in Springfield, Missouri that had the introduction of proposed legislation. I was the only person. And every seat was taken in this restaurant. It was not Ziggy's. There was only about 50 of us, so it was smaller than what we do at Ziggy's. But no one had anything to say. I was absolutely shocked. Shocked. I mean, I don't want you to think I hurt my shoulder patting myself on the back with these, but I really thought they were good. I thought that, the Missouri Missouri government weapons restriction, I thought that was reasonable. Why should they have access to all kinds of weapons that we can't have? And why should we not have the elected representatives integrity bill, where we demand that every representative reads every word and understands every word of every bill that he or she votes on? I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And why should government minions, government thugs, government employees, why should they have prosecutorial and judicial immunity for their crimes? Why should they? Why shouldn't they be held to the same standards that we hold ourselves to? But, Frank, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Not a comment. Nothing. As a matter of fact, I was so disappointed with the reaction of those people that I left the meeting after a couple hours. They continued, and John Dollarhite was there, and Judy Dollarhite was there, and there was another young man there, and we all left. We couldn't take it anymore. There was a guy there. His name is Mike Moon. He was running for Congress. He ultimately got a job at the Missouri State House of Representatives. He was there, and he was the same guy that was with me and Dr. Howard Shayne when the police came up to ask me to leave an event. Yep. He was standing next to me, talking to me and Dr. Howard Shayne. The police came up and said, "Are you Vincent Finelli?" And I said, "Yeah, what's up?" And they said, "Would you please leave?" And I said, "Did I do something wrong? Did you see me do something wrong? What's this all about?" He took off like a scared rabbit. Yep. Mike Moon. Yep. Elected representative, Missouri State House. Frank Underhill and I'll be right back. Well, let me ask you this, Lene. Would you be killing that squirrel if that squirrel were turned over to the Department of Natural Resources? That is my question to you. Uh-huh. Okay. So the answer to my question is, I know. I know I'm on the air, I know, but Lene, you are not on the air, but I'm on the air, so my side of the conversation is being heard. Lene, I guess we'll have to continue this at a later time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Well, there we go. Let me tell you what that was all about. On our website, article number 1, post number 1 says, Indiana Department of Natural Resources demands rescued squirrel from owner. And I put the phone number down there, and I just called that number. And I got to the Fish and Wildlife Department. I talked with Lene Petercheff, Peterchef. And what happened was this woman rescued a squirrel, a baby squirrel, raised it from very, very, very tiny. And you know what? She didn't get the permit that she needed to keep this squirrel alive. So they have people employed in the state of Indiana who specialize in this. Now, they will come and take care of this squirrel, and it's not their intent to euthanize it. But why would anybody in their right mind call the Department of Natural Resources when they can take care of this themselves? They can raise a squirrel. But this woman had the audacity, the nerve, to not get a permit because she just raised a squirrel. So the full weight of the state of Indiana is coming down on her. And so I called to find out what was going on. And I asked, if they would kill this squirrel. And they did not like that question. They told me that my questions were out of order and they did not want to continue talking to me. So I just let you hear my side of the conversation because I did not let them know that they would be on the air, so I did not put them on the air. But class, I just want you to know, this is what I do. When I'm behind the microphone during the commercial breaks, I pick up the phone and I call city governments, I call state governments, I call these people who are in the news doing what I consider causing problems for us. And let me give you her number. Let me give you her number in case you'd like to call her. Her name is Linnea, Linnea, and I had to ask her for her last name. Peterchef, Peterchef. Her direct number, 317-233-6527. 317-233-6527. Check out the article on page 1, then give her a call and let her know whatever you think. Frank, you kind of know what I do, but that's what I did. I mean, what the heck is with these people? This woman, here's what happened. There was somebody with a chainsaw that cut down a tree surgeon, and then out of this tree came this little squirrel. And I mean, this squirrel was probably, maybe 2 inches long. And so the woman who rescued the squirrel fed her with a bottle, a syringe, or fed the squirrel, raised the squirrel. The squirrel put the squirrel in a cage. The squirrel became domesticated and was this woman's pet. Well, now the Department of Natural Resources of Indiana is demanding that she turn over her squirrel from her tree to them. Why would she do that? Well, they say she didn't have the proper permit. Really? Now, if I were rescuing a squirrel and the squirrel were in danger of death, I wouldn't call up the state of Missouri and say, listen, can you guys tell me what I need to do, what paperwork, what fees, what taxes I need to pay in order to keep this squirrel that's on my property? Can you help me with that? I'd never do that. It wouldn't even occur to me to do that. So that's this woman. They want to take her squirrel. Frank, your thoughts on that?
Well, this is pretty well pandemic in just about any jurisdiction where you do something and you want to, remedy it, and then you get heavy-handed. That's very common. In the case of the squirrel, this lady's got a big fight on her hands.
Well, let's help her. 317-233-6527. Call Linnea Peterchef right now. Call her and tell her what you think. Frank and I will be right back. Let's talk about the government shutdown. I can't help it. I was talking with Nathan during the break, and Nathan was not expecting me to be on the phone when the next segment was starting, when I was talking to the Fish and Wildlife Department of Indiana. I was just on the phone, and I thought, you know what, I can hang up on this woman, or I can ask her my questions. But she did not like the fact that I asked her if they were going to kill this little squirrel that this woman raised. They don't like that. Government doesn't like it when you know what they're up to. So if you'd like to call her up, 317-233-6527. 317-223. I'm sorry. Let me start over. 317-233-6527. Fish and Wildlife, Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Linnea Peterchef, Peterchef is the person I talked to. Frank Underhill, why don't we talk about the government shutdown? What's so bad about that? What would be so bad about the government shutting down?
That is the whole point. I don't really think anything would ever change in really the way we go about our business. And perhaps if there was a shutdown, these people would just simply go home, have a holiday, stay off the television for a while, and people can go on about their business.
But wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if those government guys would just go home? I think most of America, those that are actually paying the bills, would love to see those guys just go home and stop causing problems. Frank, we've got a caller right now. Let's see.
Well, Vincent,
Mike.
we pay the bills.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Taxpayer pays the bills.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We pay the
They
bills.
don't pay the bills. We pay the bills.
Yeah. Mike, you're on the air with Frank Underhill and me, Vin Finelli.
Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Vincent. I'm traveling again as usual on this Monday morning, and I'm listening to the story about the lady. And if she is not of Native American descent, it doesn't matter. She can still become a Nemenhah medicine person. She can assert to the state or the feds that as part of her religious convictions, she's caring for the planet, and therefore she is not doing any harm to anyone. She's practicing an observance of her faith, of her spirituality, and therefore she is exempt for caring for that little squirrel.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you're right. And when I became a medicine man, Nemenhah, I pledged that I would be caring, and this was up to me to decide what I wanted to do, and I wanted to heal the planet, people, animals, and community. That was what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it in a way that I call being in the smoke signals department, and that means raising awareness, raising consciousness to what is happening, meaning the radio broadcast, telling people what's really happening and what we can do about it. But it absolutely outrages me that this government is even concerned about this squirrel. How many people do we have to pay, and how much does it cost for them to be in the way? And what she said to me is, well, we don't know if this squirrel has a disease. Well, now exactly what would they do? Well, if they think that the squirrel might have rabies, the way they find out, I believe, is they cut the head off and look at the brain and go, shoot, it didn't have rabies. That's what I think they do. That's what they do with raccoons.
There was a story about a person who had helped a deer that was injured and raised it. I believe it was in Indiana. And someone reported the person for having the deer, and the state came and held them at gunpoint, found the deer, and then killed the deer. They didn't they killed it, but they brought the deer back in a bag, and so they were collecting it for safekeeping. And, yeah, I mean, we're dealing with satanic Nazi morons, but you don't have to. You can assert your rights. You're not under the privileges of the government when you're not under and subject to the government. I can't articulate these points like Chief Cloud Pilot can, but I know that there's been many who have exercised their rights as the Nemenhah medicine man, and we certainly have had him on before to talk about this. I think this would be a prime case for a person that wants to avail themselves of the protections that are recognized under international law, treaty, and I think once the people that realize they're not dealing with just a person that's going to roll over, they'll leave it alone.
Well, Mike, I'm going to call Chief Cloudpiler after the broadcast, and I'm going to ask him if he'll come on with us and discuss this specific case with us, and also give us some more information about what we as Nemenhah can be doing. Class, Mike Parsons is with us. He's a USAPrepares.com instructor. He's traveling. He's in his vehicle. He is Nemenhah. I am Nemenhah. Dr. Norman Shealy is Nemenhah. Of course, Chief Cloudpiler is. And there are other medical professionals who are also Native American medicine men adoptees and medicine woman adoptees in Nemenhah. And so we'll have Chief Cloudpiler on, and we'll talk about how you, too, can be spiritually adopted and become one of us, Nemenhah. Mike, did you have something else you wanted to share with us?
Just on a personal note, I've been raising wolves for 37 years now, and back when Tennessee didn't have a prohibition against them, a lot of people had them. They had big cats, and they were their pets. The state, since in the early 90s, passed a law requiring you to permit to have large cats or wolves. They regulate them as a Class 1 animal, same as rhinoceroses, and inherently dangerous animals as they claim. But the reality is that being a Cherokee Wolf Clan descent, I gave the state notice, and now as the men I've also put them on further notice. But I think that once you put them on notice, they tend to realize that you're not going away and that you're going to stand your ground. I have never had any problem from any form of government regarding my wolves. Now, my wolves have never hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone. But if you don't put them on notice and let them know you're asserting your rights, they tend to run amok and want to take advantage of the scenario. I have friends that have big cats. We're talking cougars and mountain lions that are in their home, and they are perfectly safe. Now, that's an unusual situation to the average person who's never been around a big cat. Certainly, there are people that are not familiar with wolves that would think that's an oddity. But the fact is that there's never been a case where a person has been killed by a wild wolf in the United States or Canada, but yet people still have these fears. And I certainly encourage everybody, if we can get people to go to themenhigh.org to avail themselves of that information, because there's so many things that once you realize that what you're dealing with is an illusion of government and not a real government, it's a illusion, you can take responsibility and be the sovereign, the creator, the controlling entity, as it were, and it's kind of nice to be left the heck alone.
Mike, you're absolutely right. We've got a poor connection with you, Mike, so we're going to have to say thanks so much, and please call in anytime. Thanks a lot, and nemenhah.org, NEMENHAH.org, if you'd like more information. There's also a link on page 1 at the bottom of usaprepares.com to Chief Cloud Piler. Just click on that, and you'll go right to nemenhah.org, and you can learn how you, too, can be spiritually adopted the same way that Mike and I are, and Dr. Norman Shealy. So thanks so much. Frank, we're talking about the government shutdown, and I actually think it would be a good thing. I really do. Less intervention, and of course, some of us might be concerned, how do we have a national defense? That continues. That just goes on even with the government shutdown. But let's continue. What are your thoughts about the government shutdown, Frank?
Well, it's probably even necessary, and if this goes to help pare back spending, cut the deficit, then I'm all in for it. Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with the government shutdown. I really, really don't. Frank, want to talk about gold and silver?
Well,
I would have thought gold would have had a big move today, but I guess funds are not pouring into the safe haven of gold as a counter investment. However, gold looks like it is coming back up, but ironically, the dollar's even lower today too. So I don't know. Perhaps maybe it's profit taking in gold, but I would have thought it would have had a large percentage move today. But I guess that hasn't materialized.
Yeah, I'm looking at gold at $13.29, and I'm looking at silver at $21.82.
Well, that's up from where it was. It was down to $13.20 this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But silver's not moving too much, and but I was talking to one of our instructors over the weekend about, and I like to look at silver dollars, and I was telling him that I'm interested in buying some, and he said, the premiums are really high, and I said, well, how high? He said, well, the melt value of silver dollars right now is about $16.70. So if you look at a silver dollar today, if you look at how much the silver component of a silver dollar is worth, it's about $16.70. Well, he told me that just average silver dollars, nothing special, not even really nice ones, just okay ones, are going to be about $30. So I went to eBay just before the broadcast and cull silver dollars, the ones that you would really not want because they're not really nice. They're banged up, dinged, they have problems. Each one of them has a problem. That's why they're culled out. Well, that's CULL. $27 a piece, plus $2 shipping. So that's $29 for culls. And this coin dealer I was talking with over the weekend said, you know, if you want a nice one, you're going to be in the $30 to $35 neighborhood. Not to AU or BU, just nice. $30 to $35 for silver dollars. So the premium, Frank, is there. It's high. It's high. So there is a demand, even though we're looking at silver at 21.82 an ounce. If you really want it in a silver dollar, you're going to pay a premium. Frank Underhill, Vincent Finelli. We'll be right back. We're going to talk more about gold and silver. This animal just fell on our property, and she raised it from a little pup. The animal would fit in the palm of her hand very, very comfortably. So she raised this pup, Greg, and you're the director of the Department of Natural Resources in Indiana? Assistant director. Okay. Well, Greg, I'm back on the air, so I cannot continue this discussion, but would you like to come on the air with me and talk about this? No? Well, I'd love to have you on the air because I'd like you to explain why this woman is not allowed to keep this animal. I mean, it makes no sense. She rescued it. Now, would you be... Let me ask you this. Yeah? Okay. Huh? She didn't take... Hey, Greg, I wish I could continue this discussion, but I am on the air. Thanks so much. I'll call you back, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, there you... Boy, am I frustrated. I can't believe it. Anyway, I was on the phone, Frank, with the assistant director, Greg McCollan, C-O-L-L-A-N, of Department of Natural Resources in the state of Indiana. During the break, I called him. And he said that this permit, you know, for this woman to get the permit for the squirrel is only $10. And I said, okay, so she pays $10 and she can keep the squirrel, right? He goes, no. All wildlife in Indiana is owned by the citizenry. So everybody owns this squirrel. So since everybody owns this squirrel, she has to turn it over to the state. I said, she's in custody of the animal. She has raised the animal. She said, but she's not in legal possession. These guys are thugs. These guys are going to take an animal that's perfectly happy, perfectly safe, and I'll bet you they want to kill it. I'll bet you. Like they did with the deer that we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Let me give you their number. 317-233-6527. The guy who I was on the phone with recently, just a couple seconds ago, Greg McCollan, C-O-L-L-A-N. Greg, G-R-E-G, M-C, C-O-L-L-A-N. He's the assistant director. Why don't you give him a call? Tell him what you think. Frank, I'm so frustrated. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I just can't imagine what would happen here if a squirrel fell out of a tree. The mother was killed because a tree surgeon cut the tree down and didn't know there was a squirrel's nest in there. And I know for a fact Mrs. Finelli would raise that squirrel. That squirrel would become taken care of right here. The cats, the dogs, everybody would get along, and that squirrel would be released. What exactly is the problem? And would I pay $10 for a permit to take care of something like that? Absolutely not. I'd never do it, no matter what. Frank? Well, I think that this lady should be entitled to look after the squirrel, and it's not like she's abusing it or anything, so I don't see what the harm would be. Well, I think, yeah, the harm would come from turning it over to Fish and Wildlife or the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. That's where the harm would come in my opinion. I can't prove it, but it's my belief, based on the actions that they've done before, where they've killed, deer have been rescued and saved, and then they go and kill them. Okay, Frank. So, gold and silver. Oh, man. I'm so glad that there's not a camera on me. I don't think it'd be good. I don't think it'd be good. Frank,
well, as I
let me
was saying
share.
before the break, I thought gold would have had a big move today, and I thought people should be happy to be getting this kind of news.
Yeah, that the government might shut down. We haven't bombed any foreign countries in a few weeks. Yeah, good news, right?
Should be.
Frank, what do you want to talk about on the other side of the break? I've got a list here. What do you think?
There's a story that I follow up here, and I follow it closely here about homeowner associations. So we can pick
Let's do that
after the break.
Homeowners associations. Frank Underhill, CEO. Yeah, Frank Underhill, CEO, UnderhillSecurities.com. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Vinny's going to calm down. He's got about 6 minutes to do so. We'll be right back.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? This is hour number 2. USAPrepares.com. Frank Underhill's with me. Frank, over the weekend, I was looking at YouTube, and I thought, let me just type in USA Prepares. I was absolutely shocked. There was this YouTube channel that was built, and it had Alex Jones, Mike Rivero, and me. And so it was put up by a guy named Ron Gibson. So I sent Ron an email. No, I never met Ron, never talked to him, didn't know who he was. So I sent him a message, and I asked him if I could call him. And we chatted last night, and it was great. It was really great. So he's in North Carolina. We've never met, and he thinks that more people should listen to USAPrepares.com. So what he did was he built a YouTube channel with Alex Jones, Mike Rivero, and I've had Mike Rivero on this program. He's a broadcaster on another network, and he and I have been on the air many times together. I like Mike Rivero. So I'm flattered and honored to be considered for this YouTube channel. So I wanted to thank Ron Gibson, a real gentleman, and I've invited him to be on the air or to call in whenever he wants and tell us whatever he thinks we should be paying attention to. So Ron Gibson, North Carolina, thank you so much for putting up that YouTube channel. And I'll have a link to it or post on our website right after the broadcast. So thanks again, Ron Gibson. Isn't that neat, Frank?
It is. Well, it shows that people are listening, and that's very nice of him to do that, to include in the YouTube segment.
Yeah. And so this broadcast right here, right now with you and me, Frank, is going on YouTube. I'm certain of it. And he did it so tastefully and so professionally. And what he does is he edits it for, actually takes out the commercials, so it's commercial-free broadcasting on YouTube. So anyway, that's what Ron Gibson has done. Frank, you wanted to talk about homeowners associations. Let's go there.
This here in Nevada, and I'm sure like in other states, my folks live in a HOA, homeowners association, and every month they pay the association to maintain the property. And fortunately for where we are, my folks are, it's very lovely kept. Now, Bank of America, this Bank of America, the very bank that foreclosed on everybody with no negotiation, robo-signing, riding out, these homeowners on a rail, basically, are now suing HOAs to forgive these dues that are in arrears because the bank evicted these people. Nobody was paying the HOA fees, and I guess the banks are the owners of these properties now, and they're on the hook for the HOA fees. They are suing 28 HOAs and collectors who service these HOAs, saying that you don't want to take payments or you don't want to negotiate. Well, I'm glad the HOAs are treating the banks the way the banks treated their customers. And I just want to say I've got no mercy for these banks, and I'm glad to see you have the hunter becoming the hunted. And what will happen is that banks will have to disclose to new buyers of these foreclosed homes that there are these dues, and in many, many cases, if not all of them, these dues can be in collections and legal can be into like the high thousands, big dollar amount. And people who buy these homes off the banks are responsible to pay off these liens to get clear title to the properties. And what the Bank of America wants to do is erode the power of the HOA. In other words, get rid of the super priority lien language out of the law so banks can basically carry on. But I think it's quite anecdotal how they're on the warpath to get everybody out of their homes, and yet when, okay, now you own the home, now you're responsible, the banks say, oh, well, we're going to sue you because we feel that we're not responsible. And in a lot of these HOAs, people forget they got to pay taxes. There's roads, there's sewer, and this is just another hangover left over from the real estate collapse. And I have to say, and I do support HOAs in this remedy because they do keep the property up. And it's because of their work in the property. My parents their foreclosures in that HOA, but the complex itself did not look like it was in foreclosure. It looked like business as usual, and therefore it brought a steady stream of buyers in to buy foreclosed units and rehab them, and a lot of owner-occupiers moving in them. But I was just incensed to see that story, how the Bank of America was suing HOAs here in Nevada. They got no business. They should just shut up and pay the HOAs the fees that are owed to them, so their new buyers will not be on the hook for undisclosed bills relating to the purchasing of a foreclosed home.
Frank, let me see if I've got this right. So the bank forecloses on a loan that the bank has seen all the contract information, the listing information from the real estate offices who have listed properties when they're sold through realtors. So the bank knows full well and good that there is a homeowners association and there is a fee associated with that. They know that. They know that that is part of the agreement to purchase the property. So they're full aware of it in writing. There is no surprise to the bank. So what did they expect would happen when they foreclose and take over that property? That it would go away? What are they thinking? So here's the full force of Bank of America coming down individually on homeowners associations, right? 28 of them?
Yeah, and that's probably a tip of the iceberg. I don't know how many HOAs are registered in the state, but I think that this is only the beginning. And when I saw Brace's homeowners, I just had chagrin. I just cringed. They do a good job managing, and there's a whole slew of others in there, Canyon Crest, Cortez, you name it, they're in there. But I think it's absurd.
Well, I am coming down firmly on the side of the homeowners association, because everyone who entered into these agreements, meaning the original purchaser, all of those, and the subsequent purchasers, they all knew about the homeowners association and the associated fees. So since everybody knew about it, who are these bankers to think that they can get away with not complying with what they've agreed to do? Who are these people?
And Vincent, not everybody like you and I and your listeners are able-bodied where we can tend to our own homes and cut our own grass and so forth, so forth. You know, there are people who like to have a place looked after for them. And, you know, with all due, where I've been into a few of them, like down here, there's a place called Stallion Mountain. It was a golf community, very nice, you know, Pluty, I think, development. And when the foreclosure wave hit in there, like a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of properties were left in shambles and disarray, like to a point where insect counts probably shot through the roof. But because of the HOA, they're able to at least maintain a decent curb appeal to a lot of these properties. And again, they at least have it look like on the outside it's business as usual, and it's not a slum where it's going to deter people from purchasing in there and, again, making a home for themselves. I think they should be given a medal in this. Now, I'm not a total law and board HOA. Like, I know they go around and take pictures and, you know, they just want your place in good standing. And there's landlords who do rent to people that are just pain in the ass to, you know, a lot of the residents who live there, and HOAs fine, you know, landlords for unruly tenants and so forth. But you know, they do a job, and they do keep and if you don't like your HOA, well, come every year election, you can always vote the bums out if you don't like what they do. So there is a democratic mechanism in place. But for a lot of people who do vote, like, you know, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So a lot of these people do get, and plus I don't think a lot of people want to serve on an HOA anyways. But I have to say, I was just incensed seeing that story on there, and I say shame on Bank America, because you were so quick to throw everybody out, and now when it's your turn to pay the bill, you just want to walk from it. It's not right.
You're right. It's not right. And our daughter lives in a home that has a homeowners association, and when she bought her house, she knew exactly what the rules were. She was presented with a copy of what she was required to do, and you know, her responsibilities, their responsibilities. She read it beforehand, you know, the entire document, and you know, the rules, if you will, and the fees, and she was willing to do it. So if you enter this knowingly, then you are obligated, and you agree to it, then you're obligated to it. So for about $400, maybe $360, something like that, she has snow plowing, snow removal. She has some security riding around in this neighborhood that she's in, and she has a pool and tennis courts, and they have activities. They've got, you know, mixers and dances and things like that. So it's up to the homeowners association to do what they want to do, and I think it's great that they are standing in the face of Bank of America. And I suggest that in support of them, any of us who have Bank of America accounts, we close them. Close them. What do we need them for? They're not on our side. Frank Underhill, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. Let's talk about the currency. I just sent off an email to Dr. Judy Wood. We're going to be talking about 9/11 tomorrow. What really happened? What brought the buildings down? She is a researcher and a scientist, and she wrote I got to tell you, it's like a college textbook, about 500 pages. Very heavy book. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So I just confirmed with her. She said, are we still on for tomorrow? And I said, you bet. So Dr. Judy Wood tomorrow. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, I just wanted to share something before we get into currency moves. Meet up tonight. Ziggy's 5:30. Sunshine and Glenstone, Springfield, Missouri. We're going to talk about the music industry, what happened to Michael Jackson, and why music is spiraling downward with the gyrations and the antics that you see on stage by so many of the, we'll call them quote-unquote performers. And one other thing, I got an email from Grace Thorne. Grace Thorne, her class, her 6th grade class, 11-year-olds, Dr. Richard Allen Miller and I were on the air together last Thursday, and we were talking about science. So we taught a science class, a worldwide science class, with the students asking their questions. And Grace Thorne mentioned that her class, about 50 students, wrote a letter, or letters, about 50 letters, to a U.S. congressman, and they received no response. And I think she was kind of hurt, and the students were kind of hurt that why didn't they hear back from this congressman? So she asked me for my address, and she's going to be making photocopies of all of these letters, and she's going to send them to me. Now, Frank, what would I do with these letters? What would I possibly do with these letters? What should we do, Frank?
Just keep sending them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this congressman's office, and I'm going to say, I feel so fortunate. Not only were you sent these letters, but I have a copy of them. But I don't understand. I really don't. Maybe you can help me understand why when 50 11-year-olds are learning about government and they send you a letter, why is it that no one in your office had the common decency to say thank you so much for participating as a citizen in the United States of America? And thank you for bringing your concerns to me as to what you are concerned about as a human being living in the United States of America. I want to know why they haven't gotten a response. Are we not paying these Congress critters enough money? Is postage too high? Actually, they get to send out mail for free. So what's the problem? Don't they have enough staff? What's the problem? Or are they just too busy? I want to know. I want to know. And I'd like to see these young people get a response. And we'll keep you posted. I'll let you know who this congressperson is and what the problem is. And maybe we'll even have them on the air if they agree. But for some reason, Frank, I don't understand. People don't want to go on the air with me. I invite them. I invite these government minions to be on the air. What do you think? Why don't they want to go on the air with us, Frank? Do you know?
Because they obviously like what you said about having staff around them and all that. They use them to do their paperwork for them, but they generally like to only make appearances on the mainstream media to keep feeding mainstream people the same mainstream porridge, and basically that's all we've been getting.
Yeah, and here's something I don't understand. On last Thursday, when I was at this legislative meeting where I was proposing legislation that we talked about in the previous hour to the Missouri government, 3 representatives were there, and I'll tell you what, it was just me against 3 of these guys. Just me. And they still didn't have many answers. And these guys are a disgrace. They're an absolute disgrace. You would think they work for us. We need to throw them out, every single one of them. Every single one. Throw them all out. I don't care who they are. Throw them out. Everyone. Top to bottom, left to right. We need to replace the entire system of we need to replace all the representatives, everyone, because they become politicians. Frank Underhill and I will be right back. Frank Underhill's with us, underhillsecurities.com, underhillsecurities.com. Frank Underhill's the CEO. Frank, I just got a call. Mrs. Finelli contacted me, and she said that over the past weekend, there was a gun show in Texas. And that the gun dealers were having a tough time doing business this weekend because of the looming government shutdown. When a gun dealer sells a gun to a person, they're required to do a background information check. And what happens is, when it's processed, either that it's processed on a telephone call, the purchase is either authorized, it's delayed, or the gun dealer is told they can't sell the gun to that person. So one of three things happens. It's either, yes, you're authorized, you can sell that firearm to that person. It's delayed, meaning it's on hold, you can't sell it yet, until you're either told you can sell it or can't sell it, or the gun dealer is advised they can't sell the firearm to that person. This weekend in Texas, they had more delays than usual. It made Fox News. And we were told, Mrs. Finelli was told by one of us at usaprepares.com, that the delays are more than usual. So I just wanted to share that with the class. That is breaking news that we have firsthand. Mrs. Finelli received that news firsthand just minutes ago. So I wanted to share that with you.
Vincent, they should just hand over the firearm in lieu of cash, no background check, none of that stuff. I come from the mindset if you have to regulate it, you don't need it. And if they would just get out of the way of commerce, this person wouldn't have a problem keeping his doors open or collecting revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right, Frank. Years
and I don't
ago,
even believe in background checks because they don't ferret anybody out anyways. If somebody's mental or picking on retarded people, that's profiling, and that should be unacceptable.
Frank, I mentioned on the air that I am supporting gun confiscation from the government, meaning the police. The police, we should confiscate their guns because they have demonstrated that they are unable to safely handle them. The same with tasers. And what I mean is there was a man in Hayward, California. He went to visit his friend. His friend wasn't home. He sat on his friend's porch, had the garden hose nozzle in his hand, and was just waiting for his friend to come home. And the neighbor across the street sees him and says, "Oh man, I don't recognize that guy." Calls 911. 911 shows up, 4 guys. So this guy's sitting there with a garden hose nozzle in his hand. And the man across the street calls 911 and says, "There's a guy and I think he's got a gun." Dispatcher says, "What kind?" He says, "Well, a small revolver," something like that. The police show up. Shotguns, handguns. They don't say to the man, "Hands up. What do you got in your hand?" "Sir, you have a weapon in your hand?" "No. Nope. They killed him. They blasted away. And you're sitting there with a garden hose nozzle. Totally unprepared for the assault by the police. It's on the website, usaprepares.com. Another one, man with a seatbelt violation. An alleged seatbelt violation. One cop car cruiser is chasing him. Another one joins in. The guy, for some reason, this black man, for some reason, jumps out of his car, runs across some grass, slips, falls, and the police car chasing him runs him over. Literally, the dash camera shows this man being run over by a police car. Obviously going so fast, the police car could not stop in time. Out of control. So we need to get the guns out of the hands of these cops. Now, where is this going? Well, Sam Bushman is a friend of mine. Sam Bushman is a broadcaster for about 20 years. He also picks up this broadcast on his network. Sam Bushman has been on the air with me. I've been on the air with him. We're friends. We like each other. We're really good friends. Well, he was telling me that, and he's a friend of Sheriff Richard Mack, and I'm a friend of his also. Well, he was talking with Sheriff Richard Mack about what he heard me say on the air, which is gun confiscation from police. I think Sheriff Richard Mack is running with it. Unbelievable. I love it. I love it. So some of the things that we say on this broadcast get picked up by others. I've heard Rush Limbaugh say things 3 or 4 days later, 2 days later, things that I've said on, original language from this broadcast. I hear on Rush Limbaugh's program. So obviously, let's see, my mom, you, we've got at least 4 listeners, Frank. What do you think?
Well, at least the word's getting out, Vincent. Another topic I wanted to talk about as well is, a little continuation of the HOA business was when we went through a huge housing boom here. A lot of people were buying homes in outlying areas like in Pahrump, Mesquite, Prim, wherever. And how it's really taken a shellacking over there. People are really suffering a lot of foreclosures. And developers were making bundles of money. And when you look back in logic, where the only industry out there is prostitution, brothels, low-paying jobs, low-paying casino or pub jobs, and people flocking in there thinking, we'll just have a short commute to Las Vegas, only to realize that they basically bought into a trap.
Yep.
Like, who would live in a place where there's prostitution and brothels? If you're retired, why would people move to these places?
It makes no sense to me. It really does not make a lot of sense to me. We don't have anything like that here. We're in our farming community, and Frank, we're talking about homeowners associations. Now, I live on a farm, and all of our neighbors live on a farm, and we have a homeowners association. What we do is we help each other. We're associated with each other, but we don't have any dues, although we pay dues. And here's what we do. If I have extra produce from my garden, I bring it over to my neighbors. If they have it, they bring it to us. If they need a hand, we help them, and they help us. And, for example, one of my neighbors said, "Hey, Vinny, I've got so much grass, the rain is out of control. Can you send your herd of cows over and help me get rid of some of this grass that's choking his farm?" So we sent 100 cows over there. 2 weeks later, it's all cleaned up. All cleaned up. No government intervention. We just did it. We didn't ask for permission. We just did it. And we wouldn't. We wouldn't ask for permission. We don't need those guys to help us. They're in the way. So I'm with you, Frank. I think homeowners should get together. And whether it be formally, as it is with homeowners associations with dues and rules and covenants and regulations, or whether it's done informally, without rules, regulations, and covenants, the way we do it here in our community, I think it's good. I think it's good to know your neighbors. I think it's good to work with your neighbors. It's absolutely a requirement. As a matter of fact, one of the cornerstones of what we do at Ziggy's is we are building community. But the interesting thing, Frank, at Ziggy's tonight, there will be people there from probably a radius of 100 miles. People will come from easily a 100-mile radius to be at Ziggy's because they want to build community in their area. Now, it's not one community that we're building. We're building hundreds of these small communities within a 100-mile radius. And actually, I think we're building them all over the country, places we don't even know about, because people are listening to us and they're saying, you know what, we can do it too. And that's why, class, that's what I was telling Ron Gibson, who built this YouTube channel, and he has us as part of his YouTube channel, USA Prepares. We were talking about Ziggy's, and he thinks it's really neat how we're teaching people that they can build their own meetups the way we have. So, Frank, tell us about the currency moves. Where are we going?
Well, I was looking at my charts, and I look at the you look at the pound, it's up.
Yes.
You look at the euro, it's up. You look at the Canadian dollar, it's up. The Australian dollar is up. And the U.S. dollar is riding at 80 and a bit. And it's just been teetering there for quite some time. And, of course, people have seen like maybe a modest recovery in precious metals prices. And I think I say on programs even a while back that the dollar looks like it's cresting. Well, the dollar had a high of 84. And now it's down here at 80, and other currencies have moved up. And I think if a trend carries on through, this could probably only even bode better for the metals.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But, the other currencies being up against the dollar really is an indication that we're not doing very well. We have sent abroad and away our manufacturing, our tool and die makers, and frankly, we can't be a society that we can look to as being a great one without great manufacturing, without great engineering, without great technology, without great innovation, and without great morals. Take all that away, we got nothing. In the headlines, there is a train collision in Chicago, 33 hurt. 33 are hurt. And also, looks like 3/4 of the White House staff will stay home in a shutdown. Is that great news or what? I love it. Frank Underhill and I will be right back. Bye-bye. Well, that was fun. I just got a call. There's a lady who wants to come to the meetup tonight, and she heard about it. She read about us in the newspaper. And she's going to be coming tonight. So, if you'd like to come and learn about what's happening in the music industry, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to show a movie, actually a couple movies. And, of course, there's always open discussion for those of you that have questions about preparedness and survival and what's happening. So that's Ziggy's tonight, 5:30, every Monday. Sunshine and Glenstone, 5:30 to about, we say till about 7 or 8, but sometimes we stay until 2:30 in the morning. So it's free. If you'd like to have dinner with us, you may, at the lowest prices in Springfield, Missouri. That's tonight, every Monday night, 5:30. USA Prepares a meetup. Frank, there's a couple things that we've got on our list that we haven't discussed today. One of them is oil. Where's oil heading? And then your hot water heater. We've got about 4 minutes. What do you want to do?
Well, Vincent, let me just do the hot water. Because of programs like this, our hot water tank went out, and I had no hot water. I had no running water, basically. I had to turn it off. And I have like a dozen bottles of water in my pantry. And I was just using that to wash my face and brush my teeth and make coffee with. And if
so you had to shut off your water?
All of it, yeah.
So you had to shut off your water. Did you have a leak?
The hot water tank gave way.
Yeah. So you had a leak, and you had to shut off the water. So in your house, there was no water. That means no flushing of toilets, no kitchen sink, no powder rooms. Okay. So what did you do? How long did it take?
Well, it's still ongoing.
Really?
And
so you don't have water yet?
We're coping so far. No, not yet. No running water.
Okay. Well, Frank, for those who may be listening, you should have, if your hot water heater was installed properly, you should have a shutoff valve at the cold water side inlet to your hot water heater and one at the hot water side. You should be able to shut those two valves off, and then as a result of doing that, you'll be able to stop the leak, and also you will be able to have cold running water in the rest of the house. That means the toilets will flush.
Well, the cold water goes into the hot water tank.
Yes, but that's true. But there's also cold water that bypasses the hot water tank. So I'm saying, now you may have, if your hot water heater was installed the way I would do it, you would have a shutoff valve at the hot water heater going in and out of the hot water heater. Shut both of those off, and you should have the ability to open up your main your main shutoff valve, which is probably what you shut off. So you'll have you'll have cold water throughout the rest of the house.
I'll take another look, but I don't think I saw one. So,
well, I'll tell you what. Take a picture of your hot water heater and and the plumbing, and right after the broadcast, send it to me, and I'll tell you what we should do. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm so glad that you did have some water there ready to go in your pantry. What do you think's happening with heating oil, Frank?
I think you'll probably see. Well, right now oil is low; it's down a bit, but I think it's probably going to be picking up again. I think heating oil. I think we're probably going to be in for a cold winter, as you see already. There's snow falling in parts of the country already, and we've just exiting September. So I would try to conserve on that front as well too. I think heating oil would probably be a bit of a premium this winter, if winter's starting this soon for a large part of the country.
But it's down right now, right this second, right?
Down right now, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to call my oil company because I've been waiting and oil peaked when we rattled our sabers to start another war. Oil shut up, and I was furious. I was furious because it was going to cost me another $500 to buy oil, and I said, I'm not doing it. And so maybe I did the right thing. Frank Underhill, I appreciate you being with us today, as every Monday. Underhillsecurities.com, and we'll figure out if we can fix that hot water leak right here, right after the broadcast. Meet up tonight, Ziggy's, 5:30, Sunshine in Glenstone. You're welcome to come, unless, of course, you're a politician. You would feel very uncomfortable if you're a politician. Frank, thanks so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. We're going to win in the long run. Honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.